Welcome to Academy. How are you guys? Hello, hello, hello. Everyone looks so comfy tonight. I'm actually under my minky in my bed. I was like, I'm ready to just like sit and listen and soak in all the things. I'm just going to introduce Allison to you really quickly, and then she's going to take it away. If you have any questions while she is talking, put them in the chat. Karen and Karen we'll be watching the chat, and then we'll come back on and ask Allison any of your questions that didn't get answered. Allison is a new director, and I'm going to let her share her story, but I just have to tell you guys, she is a rockin' mama. She has the sweetest little kids, and she has just grown a business so quickly. So I'm going to let her share her story with you and teach us some of her trips or her tips and best practices. So take it away, Allison.
Thank you, Hannah, and thanks for asking me to share my story. When you asked me, I'm like, what is my story? I don't even know what just happened in the last 6 months, but here we are. So my name's Allison Mail. I'm in a very small town, Alpena, Michigan. If you don't know Michigan, we've got the thumb. We're way up here, however you want to look at it, but we're a very small town. So we're we live in a community where everybody knows a lot of things about everybody. If someone's doing a business, everybody knows about it. And we're a very, I would say, direct sales targeted community where people are in direct sales, and you got all the people going like, oh, they're in a pyramid scheme, this and that. So for me to ever join another direct sales company, it was not in my cards. I would swear I would never do it a million years ever again, but here we are, and this is how it all started. So I have always had a love for wax, specifically Walmart wax. I was a Walmart wax junkie. That's all I ever bought. That's all I ever used. I don't know how I never knew what Scentsy was or used it, but for some reason I had just never used it in my whole life. So that was kind of like, I heard about it. I was like, I don't know what Scentsy is. So I just continued to buy from Walmart. Warmers all over my house. I would burn candles like it was nobody's business. And I just was content doing that. So fast forward to this past July, I had my second daughter, Ella, and her pregnancy was amazing. Her labor and delivery was amazing. But afterwards, I really struggled. I really struggled big time with my anxiety, with depression, all the things postpartum that you can experience. I experienced many of them, and I just really, really struggled. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, I have to go back to work, so let's just get it over with. I didn't want any extended maternity leave because I just knew we had to rip the Band-Aid off. We had to get it done, go back to work. So probably a couple weeks before I was supposed to go back to work, I was sitting on my parents' couch with holding my little tiny baby, and I'm scrolling through Facebook, seeing all this stuff about Scentsy and the Harvest collection. I'm like, what is this? Why do I keep seeing this all over the place? So I told my mom, I'm like, I really want this Scentsy stuff, but I don't need any more wax. And she's like, yeah, you don't need any more wax. So I'm like, yeah, we'll just not do that. So I kind of blew the idea off. And then a few days later, I kept seeing it again and seeing it again. And I finally just placed this huge order from some random consultant that lives in my community. I had never talked to her before. She never reached out to me. I strictly just saw her stuff on Facebook. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to order from her. And now being where I'm at and knowing what I know now, I placed this like giant, like $200 order under her very impulsively. I didn't attach it to a party. I didn't even know what I was ordering. I'm like, okay, we're going to pick some pumpkins, some cute new warmers. Didn't know what an element warmer was, ordered one anyway. So I got my order in. I started using the warmers and wax immediately. And I remember I pulled it out of the box, and I think my mom was there at the time. And I pulled the warmers out, and I'm like, this stuff is genius. It's so much better quality. The wax was really awesome. The quality was, I can't even explain, because if the difference is just there. It's in the wax. So I'm like, Mom, this stuff is really good. Like, you got to try this. So I was in love immediately. Fast forward, this was like August. In September, I went back to work. I want to say September 7th, right after Labor Day. And as soon as I got back to work, it was extremely chaotic. My kids were just not in a good routine. I felt very out of place at work, and I just felt very weird being back. And I loved my job. I was a psychiatric nurse, and I absolutely loved everything about that job. I thought I would be there until I retired at like 65, 70 years old. That was my plan, retire from my work where I worked. I loved it so much. But after going back to work, I'm like, this isn't really this doesn't feel right anymore. So that same week I went back to work, I actually joined Scentsy, and I don't know why or what came over me. I was sitting one night and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna join Scentsy. Don't know why I wanted to join Scentsy. I was gonna join Scentsy just for some discounts. Didn't even know anything about the company. All I knew was I love the wax and I love the warmers. And I ended up joining under someone that I had never even ordered from. It was one of my friends in my hometown. And I was like, you know what, I know her, I'll join under her. So I did that. And I remember I got my kitten and I thought to myself immediately, I was like, this is a mistake. I shouldn't have done another direct sales company. People hate this stuff. And I opened up my box with my mother-in-law was there at the time after I had picked the kids up from daycare. We all rushed home and remember opening it. I'm smelling everything. And I was like, this is really cool. Like, I like this. And they're smelling it, loving it. And I distinctly said to my mother-in-law, I was like, yeah, I'm never doing anything with this. I said, this is just going to be for a fun hobby. Which is very ironic because then that whole week I literally took that consultant tote, I hauled it to work every single day. I was like, here, you want to smell these? I joined Scentsy. Here's some samples of my testers. You know, I was like not shoving it in people's faces, but I was sharing it. And I had no idea what I was doing. I had not a clue what I was doing. I just knew here's some product. You want to smell it. Some people were like, nah, other people loved it. Set up a Facebook group. Again, had no idea what I was doing, but I set one up, put my shopping link in there, and I started seeing orders trickling in. And I'm like, this is kind of exciting. I would get a notification in my email that so-and-so placed a PWS order, and I would get so excited about it every single time. But again, just went back to work, was very overwhelmed, and I'm like, hey, take it slow. Don't get out of control. Like, you don't know what you're doing. You just need to take it slow. So that was September, very early September. Fast forward to the end of that month, my entire family, except for myself, came down with COVID. And that's my kids, my two kids, which are my 3-year-old, she's almost 3, but she was like 2.5 at the time. And then my baby, who was like 5 months old, and my husband. My husband was off work for 2 weeks, no pay. The kids were out of daycare. We're still paying daycare bills, all this stuff. And it was extremely overwhelming. It was the worst time I can honestly say in my life in terms of stress, where I just felt like I was losing my mind. And I remember crying my eyes out, sitting on the phone with my aunt and my mom and just all my people that I go to. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. This isn't worth it. I have to do something different because I cannot do the stress anymore. I mean, it was literally ruining my mental health, and it was ruining a lot of things for me. So I ended up going back to work after everyone was out of their quarantine, and my kids were still testing positive, so they had to be out of daycare. So all the stress put together, I ended up being off work again. And I remember the final straw for me was my employers at the time were like asking me, when are you coming back? When are you coming back? When are we going to see you back? And I just told my husband, I said, I can't do this. And I said, there's a way. And I said, I joined Scentsy. What if I do Scentsy full time? Mind you, I had just started. I was not making an income on Scentsy. I didn't know what the heck I was doing with Scentsy, but it was an idea in my head. And I'm like, okay, this could work. So I would spend the next however many nights, and it's still, I do this to this day. If I'm up, I'm watching training videos. If I'm laying in bed and I can't sleep, I'm not scrolling social media, I'm watching trainings. And I remember watching these trainings, people making this big money and their lives are changing. And I'm like, okay, they can do it. Why can't I? So literally in that same like week span of everything hitting the fan, I ended up quitting my job. And they told I was going to do a 2-week notice. They told me, nope, you're done effective like tomorrow. I'm like, wow, that was a surprise. Did not see that coming. So my only option at that point was to, okay, you're not working anymore. Now you're going to take Scentsy and you're going to go big or go home. And so that was what I knew I needed to do. You're going to take Scentsy, you're going to work this business, and you're going to make it work. So very unlike most of the stories I watch where people get big in Scentsy, they replace their income, and then they quit their jobs. I'm completely the opposite, and I don't recommend this because it's very dangerous and it was very impulsive of me, but I quit my job and then I really dove into Scentsy. And because I knew it was non-negotiable, I have not looked back. There has never been a day where I thought to myself, I'm just not going to do this anymore because it's not worth it. No, like this is what I have to do for me to be able to stay home with my kids now, because the thought of paying for daycare and spending all of my money that I'm working on daycare was making me sick. So that is why I started diving in head first. And I just really didn't look back. And these are the things that I do on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis that have gotten me from essential consultant back in September to director March 17th of this year, which is totally crazy. And it's not, I don't think it's really common, but I did it. And this is really just what I focused on. So first thing is parties. You have to party in this business. And I watch so much stuff on social media across the board, varying opinions, various trainings, various styles. And I've seen recently where people think parties are dead and they're old school and nobody wants to party anymore. I'm going to tell you that's a lie. That you're telling yourself lies when you tell yourself that, because I consistently have between 6 and 8 parties every single month. It's a non-negotiable for me. I'm meeting new people that way. I'm getting PRV that way. And I am making sure that I am always on top of my PRV game. Because if your PRV is not high, you're simply not meeting enough people. You're not selling enough product to make a paycheck that's going to be worth living off of. And for me, I'm trying to replace a home nursing income. So I can't just sit with 500 PRV and say, oh, it's fine. No, I'm trying to like replace a registered nurse degree income. And so for me, party, 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 party. And you have to look at it like how every person's not going to be the same way. Not one person is going to think that Facebook parties are just as effective as a bag party, etc. Like you have to know your people. You have to know your population, your customers. You have to know what's going to work for them. So thank God my best friend, she was the very first person that ever even agreed to do a party for me. And she came to me and she was like, hey, I want to do a party. I don't know what the fuck I was doing. I threw some stuff together on Facebook. I engaged, I ran with it. And it's been trial and error ever since. You just have to be engaging. You have to make it fun. You can't expect to post on your social media and your parties on anywhere like who wants to party, or, hey, she's having a party. Here's her link to order. I really know that it's hard to hear, but if you think that posting on social media is going to be your open gate to getting all the sales and 2,000 plus PRV a month, it's just not. So engaging in those parties, I go live in my parties. I really try to make them a good experience. And because of that, I have people that come to me afterwards and they want to do parties with me because they see how much fun it is. And I'm constantly sharing, this is what my host gets for partying. This is their rewards. They got X, Y, and Z for free. I share all of that because I think it's important for people to see, why do they want to have a party with you? We've all been to dead Facebook parties. My parties aren't going to be dead, and I'm going to make sure of that. So parties are not dead. If you're not partying, you're going to struggle to get PRV consistently unless you have recurring like Scentsy Club PRV. But that's a whole different thing. And that's not how I built this business as quick as I did. It was strictly through parties and meeting people every single day, every single week, every single month. So that's the first thing, PRV and parties. And I will say 2,000 PRV is my minimum. If I'm not at 2,000 PRV by like the 15th to 20th of the month, I'm hightailing it, figuring out what I need to do different. Because to me, you're leaving money on the table if you're not aiming for that 2,000 PRV. That's a 5% increase in your commission, and it's just silly to not strive for that. So aim high, keep partying. Parties are not dead. Number 2, sponsoring. I know it sounds scary when you have no idea what you're doing at first, but you have to offer the opportunity to people. And my first girl that I ever sponsored, I was like, look, I don't really know what I'm doing right now, but we can figure this out together. And I just took her under my wing, and she trusted me enough to do this with me. And she was my very first teamie. She was the very first one that let me, train her and really just lead the way with her. So you don't have to know everything. You just have to be somebody that can show what you're doing and what's working, and just be approachable and be a human being. Like, my business is not perfect and I don't do everything perfect in sponsoring or coaching, but I will be very transparent with them. And I'll say, you know what, this is what I'm doing, this didn't work, or this is what I personally like and don't like. And if you're showing them how you're working and leading from the front, which I know a lot of you have heard, it really is the best way to be a leader, leading from the front. I will never tell any of my girls to do anything that I wouldn't personally do. I just don't think that that's very true to yourself. And I don't think it sets a good example for your team. So if I'm preaching about partying, you bet my calendar is pretty full or maxed out for the month. So I don't preach about things that I don't know wholeheartedly work, or things that I won't be willing to do myself. So then with that is coaching, which coaching my team for me is really just leading from the front and showing them the best I can what I'm doing that's working and what might not be working for me. So then I guess coaching and sponsoring kind of goes hand in hand. So I would say the third biggest thing is networking. And networking seems hard and it seems scary when you've never put your face out there. But in my mind, I'm pretty like anti-flyer. I don't love flyers. I think that they have a time and a place there's a time and a place for flyers. But if you really think that a flyer is going to get you all the big sales and all of the big, parties, I'm sorry, but they're not it. And if they are for you, that's amazing. But for me, they're not. When I see flyers on Facebook, I'm scrolling. Unless I see a photo of the person with a flyer or something really eye-catching, I don't stop and look at flyers. And I don't know how many of you do, but for me, I just don't. And so in my business, I don't make a lot of flyers. I don't spend time on flyers. If I see one that I really like, I'll use it, but I always try to make sure that my face is in there and I am some way, shape, or form getting on a personal level with people about what my flyer is about. So I'm in my social media stories every single day, usually more than once. Some days I'm hit or miss. I've got 2 little kids, so you know how that goes. It's just busy. And sometimes I don't get, on my phone constantly, and I don't want this business to be all the time in my face. So I try to be very intentional when I'm on my stories, sharing things about our life and about Scentsy, because if you don't have a balance, people are going to just be like, no, I'm sick of hearing about Scentsy, and they're not going to relate to you because all you talk about is Scentsy. Okay, well then there's nothing relatable there for them. So I try to really mix it up, talk about things in our life that aren't overly personal, but things that I think maybe others can relate to. And I will just be myself. I get up on there and thank God for filters, but sometimes I am, 2 days without a shower, hair's a mess. I'm in my pajamas, no bra. That's great. That's fine. Your camera can go here up. So I don't really care. I'll go on there and talk. It doesn't matter what I look like. I just be myself, and you'd be surprised at the people that will gravitate towards you and your content when you authentically share yourself and authentically be you. And you're not posting what everybody else is posting, and you're not using word for word what the next Scentsy consultant posted, because people are going to look at that and they're going to think, okay, well, she just posted the same thing as the girl down the street. So moving on. And then it is hard when you're introverted. It is hard when you're not comfortable, but I promise the more you do it, the more comfortable it does get. But you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable at the same time. So something that helps me a lot, especially when I do lives, is I pretend I'm FaceTiming my mom. Sounds weird, but I FaceTime her all the time, and I'm like, Mom, look at this, and I'm showing her all these things. And I think to myself, like, why don't I just be that same way, my authentic, excited self about other things in my stories? And when I do that, people, they gravitate towards it. So it's like not by coincidence, but you just have to show your excitement. If you are, posting flyer after flyer about the next sale or the next LTO, that doesn't show excitement. I mean, you can use exclamation points all you want, but people are just going to be like, oh, okay, moving on. And what really proved this to me was at that last flash sale, I went live the day of the flash sale, and I went live in my stories a ton, and I talked about it. And that was hands down our biggest month, the month I hit director. That flash sale had me hit director, actually. And I believe it's because I was just constantly going live and showing myself and showing my excitement, and look at this is on sale, and can you believe it? So networking can be a lot of things, but just do something that you enjoy. If you absolutely hate Facebook, then use Instagram. If you hate Instagram, use, something else. But I know one thing that's helped me is I link my Instagram stories with my Facebook stories. So anything that's on my Instagram story, it's automatically on my Facebook story. Huge time saver. I'm not having to bounce back and forth. That would be a pain in the butt. And then most everything that I put in my Facebook goes straight to my Instagram because they're also linked. So if you're not sure how to do that, YouTube is a good resource. So linking things together when you can is a time saver, and it does help just to keep both populations in sync. So network, absolutely, be you, show up as yourself. Okay, so then the biggest thing for me that has really pushed me to know the product and to know what I know as a consultant is being resourceful. So if you're expecting your sponsor or your SSD or your director to spoon feed you and hand you everything that you ever need in this business, you're going to have reckless hope. And I say that with all the love in my heart. But if I relied on Hannah or Amanda, my director, to like spoon feed me all this stuff, that would be very much of a letdown because they're each one person. They cannot feed you everything you need to know. Like they can guide you in the right direction. They can give you things that you need to be successful, but they can't teach it for you. They can't do everything for you all the time. So what did I do from the very beginning was I got a series of texts from my director. I actually read them. Yes, I read them. I clicked links. I watched videos when it was recommended, and anything that was put in front of me, I used it because hello, it's there for a reason. They're not just sending you this stuff to waste your time. They're not sending it to you because they think it might help. Chances are if we as leaders are sending you stuff, it's because we really see value in it. So I used everything I could get. And if there was a training or something that I missed, I'd go on YouTube and watch the replay. YouTube is going to be your best friend when it comes to training content. And I swear by that because that is literally what I would do every single night. And I still do it to this day. If I'm sitting up bored, which not really bored that much with my kids and everything else in my life, but that to me is my relaxation. That's my downtime. I watch a training. I'm just very much hungry for knowledge in this business. What can I do to simplify this? What is something that maybe another successful person has done? And I just take all of that and I don't let it discourage me if they're doing all these other things, but I use it as like motivation. Like, okay, you know, maybe I like what she did and I don't like what she did, but I'm going to put these ideas together and make it my own. And bam, you have an idea that you never would have known if you didn't watch a training. So trainings and me were like best friends. YouTube is my best friend. I just love it. You can search so many different leaders. All of our trainings for Bloom Society, most of the time they're uploaded to Karen's YouTube channel. So you just really have to be resourceful. You have to be willing to put in the work to train yourself. And you can't expect that somebody's going to do that for you because we are one person. And we would love to sit down one-on-one for hours and show you guys all this stuff, but it's just not possible. And so you have to treat this like a business. You have to learn things on your own, and you have to be willing to watch videos and trainings that are going to provide value to your business. I can't put it any more simpler than that. You just have to do that if you feel like it's something that you need training on. So, and there's a very fine line between getting wrapped up in what everyone else is doing and staying in your own lane. So you have to really decide, okay, is this something that I'm comparing myself to now, or is this going to be helpful? So from 1 second you think that something is being toxic to you, then stop watching it. Move on to the next training, move on to the next leader. Not every leader trains the same. Not every group is the same. And that's the beauty of this business is we're all different, but we all can find success doing, you know, the same types of tasks. So be resourceful. Promise it's not ever going to let you down. It's not going to let you down. And then number 5, which is something I've hit so heavy on lately, is cut the fluff. Keep your business stupid simple. When I first joined, I was so wrapped up in fancy samples and fancy labels, and everything had to just be like this big, blown out, extravagant thing. And you know what? It's a waste of time. I will just say it's a waste of time. And it's because you can spend 2 hours making your fancy, cute little molded samples. And no offense if you do that like that. If it works for you, by all means, keep doing it. But for me, it was a waste of time. It was a waste of money. And you're going to send these pretty little samples out in the mail. And it's probably going to sit on their kitchen counter for 2 weeks, unless you follow up with them, which you should be. But they're going to, at the end of the day, melt the sample down, or they're going to lose it if they don't use it. So you have to think like, okay, my felt sample that I'm sending for very inexpensive and very quick and easy to make, is it going to do the same job as a really cool looking fancy wax mold sample? Yes. The trick is they need to smell the stuff. Get scents under people's noses. Don't get crazy on samples. Don't feel like you have to sample every single product, every single category, every single scent. Like pick one thing and stick to that. So for right now, for me, I am literally cutting the fluff. I'm doing scent of the month samples and felts every single month, and I'll maybe pick 1 or 2 other things. And that's very much a maybe. So the consultant store has samples. Utilize those. They come pre-measured out. They come pre-labeled. Everything is right there. So use what Scentsy gives you. Don't compare yourself to somebody that's, 7, 8, 9, 10 years down the road and has the funds for these really awesome samples and Happy Mail and this and that. Like you have to understand you are starting out where you are for a reason. So don't feel like you're failing or you're not good enough if you're not sending out these packages for every person that orders. Like, people that do that can do that because they're in a different place than you. So do what you're able to do within your budget, and don't spend all of your money trying to like outdo, you know, the Joneses, like keep up with the Joneses. Just do what you're able to do. And I promise your customers are going to love it, because at the end of the day, my favorite thing right now is at the end of the day, your customer that is loyal to you is not going to be like, oh my gosh, Brianna's Happy Mail is so horrible compared to Allison's Happy Mail. No, because they're Brianna's customers. So of course they're going to love Brianna's Happy Mail. It doesn't matter what you send them. If you're taking the time to send them a handwritten thank you postcard, which right now these are my jam, postcard stamps, easy, simple. If you take time to write them a handwritten postcard, they're going to love that. So don't feel like your customers are comparing you to other consultants, because they're most likely not. So stick to what's true to you, keep it simple, keep it duplicatable. And I really had to like learn the hard way myself, is I was spending so much time trying to do all these pretty fancy things, and it wasn't PRV, it wasn't coaching and sponsoring, and it wasn't networking. So, okay, then it's kind of wasted my time at this point. And I will say, with your samples, if you're not following up with your samples, you truly are throwing money in the trash. And I did not follow up with samples for a long time. I would literally go to Walmart and hand them out to the cashiers. Don't do that. Like, you need to follow up with them, because if you don't, they're just going to forget about you. And I'm sorry, not sorry, but that's really what's going to happen. So follow up, make sure your systems are simple. And when it comes to follow-ups, how you're sampling, how you're doing your parties, like everything needs to be simple. This business is not meant to stress you out. It's meant to help you. So if you keep things simple and enjoyable, you're not going to dread it. And I'll just leave on this note right here. Mindset is truly everything. So if you're having days where you're feeling stuck, you're feeling like you're not getting anywhere, one of the very first lives I ever watched Hannah Hall do, it sticks in my brain forever and ever, is don't sit, move. You can sit and you can have your moment, but get up and keep going. There are many days where I'm like, I don't want to do this right now. I don't feel like doing this. And then I tell myself, do I want to be home with these kids every day, or do I want to go back to work and be pedaled on for when I'm coming back because my family's sick? Do I want to have to ask for time off my whole life? Do I want to have to someday, maybe if I want a third child, do I want to have to worry about my leave balance? No, I don't want any of that stress anymore. So this is it for me. And I love this. I love this so much. And I fell in love with it very quickly. So if you have a passion, don't let your temporary feelings, this is a quote from another Scentsy leader, but I love it so much. Don't let your temporary feelings affect your 5-year dreams. And that comes from Chloe Cox, another SSD. And that fits right along with Hannah Hall's don't sit, move. So I just encourage all of you, if you're in a place where you're feeling stuck or you just don't know what you're doing anymore, you can always reevaluate your business. You can always start fresh. Just keep moving and keep going, and you will hit those goals. And don't be afraid to sponsor and have people join you, because if you take care of people, your people will definitely change your business. And it sounds cliche, but they will. Take care of them, take care of your teamies, take care of your customers, and take care of yourself. And all three of those things together, and you're going to see a huge change. So if anyone has questions, let me know, and I would love to answer them for you.
Love that. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So Melanie asked in the chat, what are some of your favorite YouTubers, like maybe to follow, some leaders, or if there's like one specific training that just really stands out to you that you can remember what it was?
Yeah, so the very first bigger training that I watched, and you need to dedicate some time to these, but I broke it up over a few nights because they were longer. Chelsea Otto, I started following her on Instagram. I don't even know how I found her, but I found her and I found her YouTube. So her name's Chelsea Otto, and she has a really good program. It's like 3 days long, or maybe it was 4 days, but it was with her and Morgan Kiefer, and I really loved that. That spoke to me, and it really just helped me see things in a more simpler light when I had no idea what I was doing. And I love that. And then also from Chloe Cox and her team, which on YouTube, she's called OG Boss Babes, but she has one called Guide to Growth. And that one, I would say, was business changing for me. And it is very long. It's like, I want to say 4 videos, and they're all like an hour or more longer, but I broke it up and I was very committed to watching those. But there's just so many things in there. And they were just like, they were business changing for me. I followed them. I didn't just watch the trainings and deuce out to the next thing. I actually applied what I was learning to these trainings. And honestly, our every single Tuesday night, it was Taco Tuesday when I first joined, our trainings that Hannah's team puts on, like this is all things that are voluntarily given to us. So use these trainings to your advantage and watch them. And the one training from Taco Tuesday that stood out to me the most, which if you guys can find it, was, cannot remember her name, but it was about, it was a video actually on budget, and it talked about like customer mail and just showing gratitude. And if you're going to put money into anything in your business, let it be gratitude. So that was a really awesome training. And yeah, so those things. But yeah, Chloe's, Chelsea's, I love our Taco Tuesday / Ascend Academy trainings. And then Katie Lassiter has some really good stuff too. If you've never watched Katie, she's hilarious. So anyone that you find is going to have a different take on things. You just have to figure out who you jive with, like who seems like, you can relate to, and then just run with it.
Love that. Okay, Rachel wants to know how many you have on your team and what is your goal PRV for each month?
So right now we have 39 in my group, which back in January, or no, it was February, when before this join special happened, we were at 13. So I had a couple of really rock star girls in my group that cranked out recruiting, and I just shared it with everybody. I recruited 10 myself, which sounds really crazy to me. I don't really know how that happened, other than I shared the opportunity over and over and over again. And when you share it and you're passionate about it, good things will happen. Like, you can't assume that people don't want to join Scentsy. Like, there's, for example, one of my girls, Brianna, I assumed she never wanted to join Scentsy because she was already doing another company. So I was like, she's not going to want to do Scentsy. Well, then we started talking about it and she was like, heck yeah. And now this is her full-time focus. So you can't assume that somebody doesn't want to do the business. You just can't do that. So we went from 13 to 39 after that join promo, which was business changing. So managing that is a work in progress and figuring out what's going to work and what's not for my team. But we're just taking it day by day. And I have some really awesome girls that step up and they help a lot. So that is awesome, just to have open communication. So my goal PRV every month is, honestly, if I hit 2,000, I like that. But right now, because I've done it for a couple months in a row, I'm 4,000 for me is goal every month. If I can get 4,000 in sales every month, that's amazing. But I don't stop there. Like, I will never get to 4,000 PRV and be like, well, I'm at 4,000, so I guess we're going to just kick back for the rest of the month. No, you just keep going and try to top yourself. Just compete with yourself, not with your teamies, not with anyone else, but how can you be better every month and every month? So that's just one thing I've drilled into my head was, okay, last month I was at, this PRV, let's double it, let's triple it, let's, do whatever we can to make it bigger. So, just prove yourself every single month, shock yourself, and you can get high PRV. You just have to be consistent and work at it. You're not going to get people banging down your door to order Scentsy. You have to be there and show up and work for it. And you have to party. And I'll say that forever and ever. You have to party.
So going off of that partying, there's a question in the chat about how you're getting your parties.
So my girls, they will ask me this a lot. And honestly, I get a lot of parties booked off of parties. And it's not because, I don't say that to be conceited in any way, but I try to make my parties to be fun. And I try to make these parties to be where if I was attending, I would be having fun. So for me, it's not just throwing up, again, flyers in a group and posting, all these things. It's making sure I'm going live and making sure that I'm being personal. Party packs, which Amanda, Sweet, she had given me the party pack idea. Party packs were a game changer. And all I do for my party packs is, it's honestly so simple. It is a business envelope and scratch and sniff stickers. So like, if it doesn't fit in this envelope, I don't send it. I can't send $3 packages to a whole bunch of people all the time. So I do scratch and sniff stickers. I send them out to people. I have a Jotform link that I use. And then that helps me with following up with my party guests. So I can say, like, on my Jotform, I have a rating scale, which I love because it helps to gauge like who's going to be your next host. on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you want free Scentsy or something like that. So that helps me too. And then but really a lot of times people will say like, hey, I want to do a party. And I'm like, perfect. So then you do that person's party, you share how much fun you're having with that party. And then they tell their friends, and then their friends want a party. And then it's just the same cycle over and over and over, where you're partying, you're having fun with those party people. They see how much the host gets in rewards, and they want to party. And posting in my stories about my host rewards for my host has been game changing too. I mean, I actually booked 2 parties off of my air purifier alone, and both parties were over, I want to say $700, because that was their goal, that they wanted the air purifier. So make sure your host has a goal too. Like, don't just go into a party and be like, yep, 200 and you're good. No, my host 500 every single party. Like, that's my goal for them. I want them to get the most. So I just talk about it. I talk about it a lot. And if I am struggling, for a couple weeks or a month to really get parties, I'll go down for everyone that's ordered and say, hey, you want to get some free stuff next month? You want to earn some free Scentsy? You want to take my bag to work? Do you want to, I don't really say, do you want to book a party? I don't really ever say that. It's they come to me and ask to book a party, or I say, you want some free stuff? And if one of my girls, Sierra, she brought this up to my team the other day, you really just say, what do you have to lose? Like, if nothing happens, nothing happens, but I'm still gonna I'll give you a scent circle for it. Like, you just have to put the idea out there, and you can't word vomit and say, hey, let's have a party. And if you get this, this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this, like, they're gonna run. They're gonna honestly turn around and run. So I just say, you want some free Scentsy? Do you want the air purifier for half off? Do you want that warmer for free? Like, you just have to kind of gauge how your people are and what they're gonna like and what approach you need to take.
Okay, last question that I saw in the chat was, so what is your favorite way of partying now? What do you think people are kind of, we talked about like during the pandemic, people were all on Facebook. Like, are you still having very successful Facebook parties? Are you gearing towards something else? What's this 4,000 PRV? What kind of parties are those coming from?
So I really don't love Facebook parties, to be completely honest. I just think you're not getting the full Scentsy experience. But since doing my party packs, that has been a game changer in getting people to smell things. But however, most of my people want online parties. That's what they prefer. So I'm not gonna say, well, too bad. We just go with it. And I will host coach the heck out of them. You got to host coach. So if you don't know what that is, you got to train yourself on host coaching. But I host coach. I make sure that they're not cold inviting everybody. And Facebook parties have really been the main thing for me lately. But if I can get a home party in, I do a home party, and they're just so much more fun, that you get a lot better, quicker PRV from a home party. But if you got someone that's kind of in between, then I give them a bag. I literally throw my testers and catalogs in a bag, and I'm like, here, take this to work and share it. Collect some orders, and we'll get you free stuff. That's been less successful than I've hoped, but I don't have like one way that works better than the next. It depends on the person. If they are like a go-getter and they want to share all your stuff, give them a bag. If they're like a really introvert and they don't want to do in-home, or they don't want to carry a bag around, then you have to figure out how an online party is going to, really be a good success for them. So lots of trial and error, lots of training myself on party styles. So Visily has been a huge help too. If you don't know what Visily is, that has saved me a ton of time.
Okay, love that. And Leisha just had a question in the chat about what cold inviting was. And so I was working on typing it out. But it's basically just when you're mass inviting people without knowing their interest, right? And so that's just what we don't want. We don't want them to go and like mass invite 500 people to a Facebook party, right? We want to make it personal and know that they have an interest for that. Because you don't want 500 people requesting your party packets that have no interest, right?
Exactly. And I just think that we can all probably relate. How many of you really have been invited? You go to your notifications and you're invited to this party and that party and this launch and that launch. And eventually you just kind of like tune it out. You're like, no. But I find that if my host is texting out their party link and Facebook link and saying, hey, I'm having a Scentsy party. This is my link. I'd love for you to join. It has been astronomically different. for their party outcome. It's not spammy. It feels personal. I like to message the guests as they come in, and I do my welcome post, and I like to say thanks for joining. I don't like to send every single person a Facebook message because I feel like people get weird. They get really weird about people messaging them. And a lot of times they just don't open them anyway. So I wait for them to come in the party and really engage, and then I will take the step to engage with them. But with our party talk of how many parties I do, I have the calendar, which I got from the consultant store. I think it's genius. Any calendar works, but this is how I really set my months up. And I'm just going to flip to July because it's empty right now. I will literally go on the first Monday of every week, and I will write 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So I'll actually just show you April's for right now. I want 2 parties per week, non-negotiable. So I got work to do for these last couple of weeks, but I am taking a trip, so it's a bit different. So I've got bag party out here. I've got party. Like, to me, if I'm not filling this up, we got work to do. You can't expect to meet new people and get new contacts if you're not partying. And I know it sounds like a broken record, but I'm so passionate about it because I know it works. I don't just get 4,000, 5,000 PRV from posting on my social media and hoping people, come to me. It just doesn't work like that. You have to put in the work, and it will pay off so much.
I love that. Yes, that calendar notebook is in the Success store.
Yeah,
so
still available.
Melanie's shaking her head. It's sold out.
Oh, is it?
She's saying uno momento.
Oh, I thought
Maybe
it was still
checking. Yes, but any happy planner that is in the style of a happy planner too. So any happy planner, any calendar you can get, grab a cheap one from the Dollar Tree and map it out like that. But yes.
Yeah, I'd be really lost without my planner. I have to have a short to-do list every day. And when I'm checking stuff off, it's like, okay, on to the next day, on to the next week, on to the next month. So it's sold out. Okay. So, but Brianna, you can get any planner. The thing for me is every Monday of every week, I'm like 1, 2, 1, 2. And I know if I can do a third in there, depending on how many parties or what style they are, I will. But I don't want to just have, 1,800 parties a month just to do them. I want them to be like 6 to 8 good parties, like 6 to 8 qualifying parties. And then from then you can say, okay, some of them might flop. It happens. Like, I have parties flop. It's just what happens. Some of them might join. You might be able to do a flip. Some of them might just want to take the host rewards and run. So you're that many parties a month ensures like you have options. If all of those people end up joining, I mean, yeah, you're gonna lose out on PRV, but it's not about you. You're about helping them. So yeah, flip those parties. Like, get your host set up for success. It's just the most awesome feeling.
Yes. Sponsoring is sales for not today and sales for tomorrow, and sometimes even a lifetime.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Okay. Rachel asks, any tips, Brianna asks for live party tips. Rachel's asking if your parties are lasting a week, or do you do parties in events or as a group?
So I do parties from usually like a Monday through it's like 4 days of posting. I have an outline that I can share with you guys, and I actually spun this off of something that Chloe Cox had posted. So I'm not going to take all the credit for this outline. However, I did tweak it and I made it my own because I'm a huge believer in, like, don't just copy someone else's work. It's just not cool to me. Use it as an idea, but make it your own, make your own wording. And I use that, and it's about 4 days long. I do a live on the 3rd day. I keep the live, try to keep it under 30 minutes, but I'm a talker, if you can't tell. So that doesn't usually happen. And I literally will stand here with my products out, and I'll be like, hey, this is a wax bar, and I open it up and I'm touching it and I'm showing it. And I just talk. I talk about the products. I keep myself very well trained on the products, and I make sure that I'm using keywords. And I'll just say this, if you're a Scentsy consultant, which all of you are on here, please, for the love of all things, do not call these wax burners, and don't like boast about candles when you can help it. I just see that sometimes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, no, you're hurting your business so bad. That's a side note, but just be very knowledgeable about your products. The product training guide is amazing. Use it. It's in the consultant workstation, like you can get it if you don't have a hard copy. So I just talk about the products, I talk about what I love, and make sure I hit on bundle deals. And people love the lives. They feel like they're actually doing a home party, and they're not. They're in their own home. So lives have been a game changer for those parties. And I think that was it. It's like a 4-day span with a live on the 3rd day. I can share my outline though to you guys in Bloom Society. That's not a problem at all.
Yeah, just send that to me and then we'll post that with recording too. So
yeah, perfect.
Okay. Hey, thank you so much, everyone. Give Allison our big round of applause. Thank you, Allison.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Hey, make sure you all snapped a picture of our Zoom tonight. Post it on your social media saying, hey, got some great tips from our newest director, and whatever your wording is too. So
I love a good social media share. I'll share you back on the stories. So I love that. I love sharing the love. So
and follow Allison too. Her reels are super fun too. So I love them. All right. Thank you so much. We'll get you guys the recording to pass on to your team members too as well. Next week, we have a great training. Not at my desk. It's just gonna be great. I know it is.
They're gonna have to show up to find out, right?
I know it's gonna be a
it's
surprise.
gonna be great.
Oh, I think it's Vicky. I think it's Vicky on boards, on the app boards, which is, I'm not even going to spoil it because it's so good. And I've been wanting to learn it for forever. And so I told Vicky, I was like, you have to teach us this because I want to learn it. So I think that's what it is. So we'll see you guys same time, same place next week. Have a great weekend finishing out. We'll see you actually tomorrow night too on Ascend Lounge and book club too. So, all right. Thanks, Allison. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Have a great night.